What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Cloud Slayer channel. Hope you guys are doing well. If you're new here and you appreciate the content, if you make it to the end or whatever, please hit that like and subscribe button. I do appreciate it. And if you're returning, hey guys, welcome back. If you can help me out with the like, especially if you did like it, I greatly appreciate it. I always appreciate a good comment too. A little bit of insight of how other people feel about certain situations, especially during these rambles. You know what I mean? So, I appreciate that type of stuff. I'm sure anybody would. Any kind of positive feedback, you know what I mean? Even if it's, some would call negative, you know what I mean? But some people take it as constructive criticism, you know what I mean? So being able to step out of the insecure spot and listen to what people actually say in the comments, you know what I mean? I've seen some of it, especially like some reaction videos and stuff like that. And, that's only one way we can develop and move forward as, human beings and individuals in general, you know what I mean? And it's one thing that I observe from watching other people's actions or reactions to something, you know what I mean? They're quick to jump to their defenses, and, they look at it as a bad thing that somebody tells them the truth, you know what I mean? They don't want to accept these things and stuff like that. And, being able to move forward, or if you want to move forward in your life, you gotta come to terms with those things, That's like one of the hardest things I know I faced in my life, and that I've seen others face in their lives. And even though I identify that while it's happening to them, and then I see it also happening to myself at the same time, that I acknowledge it, but I keep doing the same shit, you know what I mean? I'm just like, what the heck? But then as I have grown a little bit older, it's like, okay, all right, it makes sense, you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not fighting against it. I'm not fighting against myself, and I'm not fighting against the truth, you know what I mean? And, whether it came with drinking and drugging, I was there too, like, oh man, it ain't drinking's fault, man. It's just, I just gotta drink less. I gotta, you heard it from like my boy George, saying that stuff like, oh man, I just gotta drink less and stuff like that, and that's what you tell yourself. Even when you're smoking or something, you're trying to quit smoking, and you just like, bam, no, I quit. I knocked back a few less cigarettes, one or two less, and it was like, how much you smoke? Still a pack and a half, like that's still a lot of cigarettes, and one that might not change much. It might, though, I guess, for some people psychologically, it could, but for other people, it's not the same. It's never going to be the same. I've heard many different stories of how people quit smoking. Like they have to quit cold turkey. My boy Matt, cold turkey, listening to these rambles and some shit that I say at work or just to him in general. You know what I mean? And he was like, "Thank you," and I'm like, "Yeah, no problem, bro." So that stuff's awesome, but. There's other people that would might quit differently. They might have went back, like, able to reduce how much they actually did smoke in a day. Like some people might have went from like a pack plus. I heard some people 2 packs. Man, that shit's crazy. They might be drinking a lot more though. Like when you're just drinking, you're just smoking the whole time. There's people like that, and I don't know. I used to smoke a lot too, so I'm not criticizing. But cigarettes were a lot cheaper. But, there's people that are able to reduce it. Like I've heard of some getting down to like 4 a day, where they like divide the day up into 4 cigarettes, or, 3, 2, and then ultimately 1. And then they're like, man, I just quit after that. But some people, they get down to 3, and then they notice that they're buying cigarettes, not as regularly, and various things like that. But, they're like, even though it was 3, I was still stuck. I was stuck at that number, and that happened for myself. I got like 3, 4, and then I'm like, fuck it. Then that's when I was like cold turkey from there, and not get down to 1, because 1 is still one more pack, one more cigarette, you know, shit like that. And you're like, you got that. Some people get down to like bumming cigarettes. They're like, I'm gonna quit any day now, but then you just see them bumming cigarettes the whole time, you know. Been there too, I guess, you know, and you're just like, yeah, but I have to finish this pack. I have to, you know, stuff like that. And then you end up, you're just smoking still, and then pretty soon you're like, fuck it, I don't give a shit. I'm not done smoking, you know. So it's, but you know, that's one of the hardest things, you know, and that's that's real big trouble for people, you know. They know it. Everybody knows around them knows it and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, whatever though. You got to do it. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it yourself, pretty much, you know, and you know, give each other advice and stuff like that. But it's like when it comes down to it, it's still up to you, and you know, moving on from that. If you're able to make that leap, it's beautiful, you know, and it's tough. It's very tough to quit that stuff, you know. You go in, but you'll notice that you're not going to like the gas station as much because you don't need freaking cigarettes or something, you know. It saves up a little bit more, you know, a little bit more of your time to hang out with people. Because usually when you smoke, you're freaking, you got to go outside, right? But I mean, there are people that socially smoke too, you know. So I guess there's that. That's probably the category of the 1 or 2 a day type people, you know. Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird. I remember being there all the time, you know, always on break outside smoking, but it seemed like everybody was smoking too. So, tis what it is. And, you know, you can still go out there even though you don't smoke, you know, you just be out there smelling cigarettes and stuff like that, which, you know, I don't really have a problem with, I guess, but it just gives me like a lot of memories of smoking, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. But I ain't gonna lie, like I did buy a pack of smokes just recently, you know, and that was my first one since last year when my grandma passed, and I was like, I bought a few of them then though, because I was smoking like crazy, sitting there at the fire just thinking, you know, all those good memories of my grandma, you know, and you know, it gets sad, but it's also like whatever, man. It's just like, you know, drinking for some people where you might just do it once in a great while and just be like cool with that instead of like, you know, alternative for them is like drinking all the time or something, you know. It's not good, but it's like a lot better than lying to yourself and having to sneak it or some shit, or you know what I mean. It's because you're being more real about it. You're being more genuine and you're being honest, you know, especially to like yourself. And it feels really good to say that you do that stuff, you know, especially in like a more open environment and stuff like that. But, you know, if you really, the main thing I was going for was ultimately just like kicking that shit, because, you know, you don't truly control those things because you're making, when you got to make a schedule to do that kind of stuff, it just seems like that's the addiction, you know, and you're like, oh, what the heck? And not just do it randomly or just when something, you know, happens and when you're grieving or something, you know, and I don't know. It reminds me of the conversation with Rob Tibbetts talking about how we just never learn how to fucking cope and stuff like that. And, you know, I know people, they think about anniversaries of when certain people pass in their life, and you know, it reminds me of those type of memories too, of seeing people crying while they're like smoking and shit, and how much it hurts and stuff. And then you're like, God damn, let's try not to be so negative, you know. But it's easier to say when you're the one that's not grieving, or when, you know, stuff like that. And I'm not even trying to make excuses for people. It's just like, these are different perspectives that I see. And then it's like, it's not that I don't care. I say I don't give a shit because I don't give a shit what decisions you decide to make, because that's your reason, you know. And but it's still in your control, and that's usually what I'm trying to say and stuff. And like, it's hard to convey those things and stuff like that to other people, and it's like, whatever, you try to be the best you, and not, come off as so much of it like a asshole as much, but you do anyways, and you're like, you think about it, and you're like, fuck, I'm a dickhead. But that's not your intention and stuff like that, and you keep going forward anyways, and you're just like, well, whatever, man. That's what you got to do, right? And oh man, it sounds stupid too, because it's just like, learn how to explain the situation better when it's happening, And it's tough, and it's life though, right? It's full of decisions and stuff like that, and you're just like, oh man, you should just try to be able to understand that too, because it should be like, it's a give and take, because that's what you do too during like other people's hard times and stuff like that, right? And I think, like I said, it's not to make excuses. You just like accept it, That's the thing that they're gonna do. Maybe it's a freaking ritual for them, and stuff like that. But some other people do it different ways, They'll go smudge down, or, they'll smudge their home and pray and stuff like that, And that stuff's beautiful, way more beautiful too, But it's just different ways people help them, let go of those things and stuff like that. And that's just, it's like, even though you're cultural in one way, and you want people to, do it the same way as you do, and it's very understandable, because, you don't want to see people do drugs in general or stuff like that, and like, but whatever, you can't stop them at the same time. But you can accept it, because we had like the lodge there, everybody smoked cigarettes. It didn't matter. The Uncle Eddie would always just rip on everybody at the lodge, and he'd just be talking shit about, the smokers and stuff like that. But, he still loved everybody, and, still very welcoming, and, trying to change ways, the way people thought, and sometimes ate, for the better of them, because, some people cope with things differently. They might eat a bunch of crap, a bunch of fry breads, and not exercise as much, and, overeat in general, because they weren't taught better. And diabetes runs pretty strong in, the community and stuff. It made sense, and it's like, this is the way, these are things we have to change and think about as we grow older, and it's like, yeah, that's fucking true though. So, I don't know. He always said beautiful things, and it made me think differently too, It's really great life teachings, and like, I think if anything that ever taught me most of my life it comes from thinking, trying to think differently from that place there, that lodge, and from very strong people that passed on, like, seemed like so much limitless wisdom down, and it's like, oh man, beautiful speakers like that. They know what to say. They know how to captivate you, and they know how to motivate you, and help paint a bigger picture in your own mind sometimes, especially when you're young, very young. And it's like, whew, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about, how those voices even felt at that time, in that moment, just to hear them speak about like old ways, and the way the Spirit would bring like certain knowledge to the people and stuff like that. And it's like, it's such a beautiful story, and it's so great. It's hard to even explain, and because you're not supposed to really talk about stuff like that, and you're not supposed to, even record it, and that's the belief, right? And that's like, they want to fight like freaking racism and stuff like that, because Native people were oppressed at one time. They were in boarding schools and shit like that, right? And you're like, I understand. I fucking understand that, man. It's tough, and they want to call you like a freaking naysayer or some weirdo that wants to change how Native people are or something like that, and it's like, it's not that. It's everything that you're preaching at the same time, It's like you're preaching it, but not doing it, But I'm not trying to say anything bad about that, but it's like, I understand why they have that, because of the boarding schools and how, some of these informations, Anton Troyer in his book, Everything You Want to Know About Natives But We're Afraid to Ask, he says that, Christopher Columbus was like, he was celebrated where he came from, right? Where his land was, Spain, I think it was. But people, like, I see something on Facebook where it said that he was like hated, but it was like, that's not true. That dude was like a product of his society, right? We got to realize that leaders, for them to carry on in history, it's because they were held in high regard at the time. And that's why they're remembered. And they wouldn't be remembered if it was really that bad, for them. Like, Spain didn't hate him. They sent him out to do that while they were still trying to conquer and spread at that time, right? And try to be the big dog, because that's what they were doing. Nothing that, like, folks like myself that aren't well versed in like current events, I guess, like that. It's like, dude, that's crazy, for them to want to do that kind of stuff. So I don't know, man. I always get off on weird these weird things. So, but I like to talk out of my butthole too sometimes. But a lot of times it's not. It's because I think about stuff like that and what I heard in my lifetime, and it's like, it makes you question stuff, and it makes you look at life in a different perspective, because, yeah, sure, it's beautiful like that too, but at the same time, why not share it with everybody and not just natives, It's easy to say, and I'm not doing shit about it, right? Except talking about it and saying shit, and, it might piss people off. I don't care, but it's like, it's the truth for them, and because they would bring like people from the university out to like see it and stuff like that, but they could never really be a part of that beautiful stuff, and it's like, if you want it to carry on, maybe it is best to show everybody, and possibly like whoever's interested. You see like these YouTube videos where they're like, white guy speaks Chinese and it shocks everybody and stuff like that. It was like, it could be like that. White dude shocks Indians on the reservation or some shit, and it's like, but they like to learn the language just because, and certain mannerisms or culture of people, and it's like, I think that's pretty freaking awesome. That'd be awesome, but they would call you like a sellout if you think that way, and it's like, but it's going to die off. You say how much it's going to die off. Why be stingy with it, people, and be more open with it. If people are willing to learn it and learn, the language and stuff like that, that'd be dope. I think that'd be beautiful, because they say how everybody's connected, everybody's from the creator, created from the creator and all this stuff, but then we look at that stuff. But like I said, boarding schools made them think a different way, even against like some of their cultures. So the Medewan way I talk about and stuff like that, from what I learned from these awesome people, like they, fuck, what the hell was I gonna say? I have to go potty too. I'm sorry, guys. But they would, man, see, now I'm all messed up because I'm focused about peeing. But I think I'm gonna go pee first. I'll be right back.